Hey Frank, here we are in Fenway Park, man. You know,
Can't beat it.
can't beat it, right? The best, the mecca of baseball, especially in Boston. And we're not only that, we're in the Green Monster. We're the best place to watch a game. If a ball gets hit up here, it's a home run. So what better place to see some of the greatest Boston movies that have ever been made than right here at the Green Monster?
So not only that, say a lot of movies set in Boston, filmed in and around the Boston area. Some of them right here in the Baseball Diamond and the surrounding communities, surrounding Boston as well. And that's what we're here to take a look at today. So this is Boston Movies.
And play
Ball.
ball. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to show you some great Boston movies, movies that are made in Boston, set in Boston, and mostly made about Boston. I'm one of the hosts. I'm Mike Wigdor, along with my friend, that's Frank Mandosa, the expert on all Boston and all films. And we're going to show you some really good films, classic films, and if they're not all about Boston, a great part of it, or a very significant part, takes place in Boston and in Fenway Park. So without further ado, I want to show you the very first one that we have, which is Field of Dreams.
What's the matter?
You didn't see that?
See what?
I'm sorry, I guess you didn't have to be here.
What?
Whenever you want to go, we can go.
Fine, let's go. What is it you're not telling me?
I've already taken up too much of your time.
I wish I had your passion, Ray. Misdirected though it might be, it is still a passion. I used to feel that way about things, but you got another message, didn't you?
You think I'm crazy?
I already think you're crazy. What did it say?
Said the man's done enough. Leave him alone.
Moonlight Graham.
Son!
Yeah, it's a classic scene there in Fenway Park. it's really integral to the movie too.
Oh, it absolutely is. And to be honest with you, you know you're a Bostonian when the biggest takeaway from that scene is you take a look at that sicko sign and you get all sentimental.
Yeah,
I love that sign.
me too. That's an iconic sign. It's been there forever. It knows you're right near Fenway Park.
That's just it.
That's it. Kenmore Square. Can't beat it.
And that whole film, most of it takes place in Iowa, but
Right.
we're including it in here because of that Fenway Park scene. And that baseball diamond that he built, the titular Field of Dreams, was built on an actual farm in Iowa. And the family that owned the farm, once the filming was completed, they kept that baseball diamond. And as recently as a few years ago, at least, they kept it open to the public for people to come and play baseball whenever they wanted to. I don't know if that's still happening,
Yeah.
but they did keep it that way for a while.
That's really, yeah, that's cool. The cool thing too about that is that was Burt Lancaster's last movie,
Yeah.
and he played on the screen at Fenway Park. That's Archibald Moonlight Graham, they called him,
Graham.
and that was his last role. And he was a guy that I don't know if I want to give it away, but there's a reason that they're looking for him. And he was a guy that never got up to bat, and he played one inning of baseball in his career. And I don't want to give any more than that away, except, you know, it's really a movie too about reconnecting with his father, because it was weird. His father was a former baseball player, but he never really, he regretted that he never went beyond playing baseball, so he always wanted his son to play catch with him. And then at some point, his son said, "Nah, I don't want to play catch with you." So they get reunited at the end of the film, and it's very emotional about that part too, I would say.
So
Without going into it any deeper, I don't watch it. It's a classic.
if you watch it, they will come.
That's right.
If you have no
watch
idea
it,
what that means, watch the movie, then you'll get it.
That's right.
In fact, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, Boston's
right.
own, Cambridge's own,
That's right.
they were uncredited extras in that Fenway Park scene.
That's right. I was looking for them. I didn't see them.
I don't know if you could actually see them. They might have ended up on the cutting room floor, but they were there on the set.
Okay. I thought
And-
maybe they were in the bleachers or someplace like that. But
They
who
could have
knows?
been, maybe
Right.
not in the scene that we just saw.
Yeah.
But 8 years later, of course, they made their names with Good Will Hunting,
That's
which
right.
is the next film that we'll take a look at.
That's right. Good segue.
On the campus of one of America's leading universities,
There is a problem on the main hallway chalkboard. It took my colleagues and I more than 2 years to prove it. I'm hoping that one of you might prove it by the end of the semester.
the most gifted mind to ever enter its classrooms
This is correct. Who did this?
is the person who cleans its floors.
Well, I just need the name of this guy who works in my building.
Got this job through his PO, you can call him.
P.O.
Parole officer.
Meet Will Hunting,
I've been looking over this rap sheet of yours. Assault, theft, resisting.
I've spoken to the judge, and he's agreed to release you under my supervision. Really? But I have to meet with a therapist every week.
That's pretty good.
for the first time in his life, he's about to meet his match.
How many shrinks you go to before me?
5. This boy's genius is unparalleled. I need someone who can get through to him.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm pumped. Let's let the healing begin. I went on a date last week.
Going out again?
I don't know. This girl's like, you know, beautiful. She's smart. She's fun. She's like perfect right now. I don't want to ruin that.
Maybe you're perfect right now. Maybe you don't want to ruin that.
Have you talked to him at all about his future?
Give him time to figure out what he wants.
This boy has that gift. Can you imagine if Einstein would have given that up just to get drunk with his buddies every night?
Some people can never believe in themselves
I can't learn anything from you unless you want to talk about you.
until someone believes in them.
You can do anything you want. You are bound by nothing.
You're sitting on a winning lottery ticket. I'd do anything to have what you got.
And some never know how much they can have
I love you.
until they discover how much they can give. Robin Williams, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Stellan Skarsgård, and Minnie Driver. Good Will Hunting, a film by Gus Van Sant.
And think any resident of Boston remembers that Oscar night of March 1998 when Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau opened up that envelope. They read Matt Damon's and Ben Affleck's names, and the two of them bounded onto the stage and gave one of the most enthusiastic acceptance speeches of the evening. For Best Original Screenplay, they won the award. Matt Damon was nominated for Best Actor, too.
Yeah, he certainly deserved it. I mean, that if there's more iconic Boston without trying to be a Boston movie, that's got to be it. It doesn't have Fenway Park, but I mean, nobody's trying to put on a Boston accent in that movie. And you know, the thing about that movie that gets me, because I used to work in Boston, I used to go to the public garden. I've sat on that bench. I look for that bench to sit on.
That iconic image of Robin Williams and Matt Damon sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that speech too that he gives when he's sitting on that bench is just amazing. Robin Williams was absolutely fantastic. I think he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor that year. I think so.
He did. I think it was after 3 He was nominated for Good Morning Vietnam, Dead Poets Society, The Fisher King. This was his 4th. He finally got it for this one.
Boy, did he deserve it for this. He put his heart and soul into this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to believe that these guys were like 24 and 21 when they wrote that screenplay, and they could be that wise beyond their years. I find that hard to believe, but I guess it's true after all these years. They're brilliant. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like Good Will Hunting himself, a genius. It was nominated for 9 Academy Awards, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And they took it to director Gus Van Sant, and you know, he made a name for himself with that film. And of course, later on, he did Milk with Sean Penn. But Minnie Driver, she was nominated for supporting actress.
That's right.
For this.
She was good too.
And Harvey Weinstein of Miramax didn't want her at first.
Yeah.
The word he used, he didn't think she was cutesy enough.
That's true.
And so, of course, she went on to, you know, earn an Oscar nod for this film.
Oh, there's one other thing I heard about Harvey Weinstein too, that you might know. I don't know if you know that. I looked up. He called them in when he was reading the screenplay, and he said, "Why is there a sex scene on page 60?" And they go, "Well, because we wanted to make sure that at least somebody read the screenplay."
Right.
You know, so they got him. You know, he had hooked him. That was brilliant too.
So that's how you know when someone's actually paying attention or asleep at the switch.
That's right. So that leads us into the next movie, which is The Fighter, I believe. The Fighter.
Lowell.
Another classic.
I'm still his trainer. I have a fight next week. And after I win, I'm gonna start making good money, so you can let me more days, okay?
Good luck, Daddy. Don't hold your breath, Casey.
Bye, baby.
You tape streets, right?
Yeah, I do. And I'm a fighter.
I heard you were a stepping stone.
Oh, I had a few tough fights, but the next fight's gonna show who I am.
Yeah, and he's gonna lose that one too. So move that sugar ass and give him
Don't disrespect her.
Mickey Ward is 31 years old. He's here because he needs the money.
Look at the size of that guy. He's got 20 pounds on me, Dickie. You don't fight, nobody gets paid. I'm quitting, Shelley. I'm done fighting. I don't need it anymore.
It's sad that you let them take it away from you.
I was embarrassed. I told everybody I was going to win that fight and get back on track. I'm sick of being a disappointment.
Look, Mick, nobody's got heart like you. You're a very talented fighter. I want to give you a real shot. Make one last run at this thing before it's too late.
What about my brother? He's taught me everything I know. I can't do it without him.
With all due respect, it's too much trouble.
Dickie, get on the ground right now!
He's a fighter! Break his hand! Nick, I was doing it for you. You did it for me? What, this? Do me a favor, don't get nothing for me no more, okay?
You ready for a title shot? Not a stepping stone anymore.
He's using you.
You can't beat me. You had a hard enough time being you, and that's why you're in here. We're gonna train, they gotta go. Why am I the problem? I'm his blood, I'm his family.
You're crazy.
I'm the one fighting. Not you, and not you. This is my shot at the title. I won't get another one after this.
Mickey has a chance to do something that I never did, and he needs me.
Okay, I'll see you in Mickey's corner.
This is your time. I had only coming like Lloyd. You don't have to.
You'll make it what? You'll make it what?
That's a powerful one.
Oh my God!
Takes place
yes.
in Lowell, based on a true story.
Mm-hmm.
He was a fighter, and
Yeah.
Christian Bale, who is one of my acting gods, plays his half-brother.
Oh,
Was his half-brother.
Totally amazing.
And he lost, I think, 30 pounds for the role.
Mm.
He would disappear from the set for hours on end, all as a way of trying to get into the character. The character he plays
Right.
is a crack addict, and
That's
so
right.
he's just very sickly looking. He's very gaunt. He has a lot of jerky movements. The fluttering of the eyes, the smacking of the lips, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he won an Oscar. Christian Bale
Right.
won the Oscar for this film. He overshadows Mark Wahlberg, I think. In
Oh,
this.
I think
Wahlberg's
so.
great, but I think Christian Bale really takes it away. And Melissa Leo, she plays his mother,
Right.
and she won the Oscar.
Yeah, she was great too. And Amy Adams was excellent as his girlfriend in that. But you're right. I think having just watched the movie, I tell you, the fight scenes though are riveting. I mean, you get your adrenaline pumped when you're watching those fight scenes, and that's when Mark Wahlberg really does his best acting, I think, really. Because I mean, Christian Bale actually carries the movie. It's really about how his relationship with Mickey evolved, and how Mickey was like in his shadow, and then he becomes, you know, he gets more confidence when Christian Bale, you know, finally does something that lands him in jail for a while, and then Mickey pulls his life together better. But it's just a great movie, and even though it doesn't take place in Boston, it's about as much as, you know, about families and close, gritty atmosphere, you know, blue collar environment, and
that's just it.
It's about as much Boston as you can get, I would say, without being in Boston.
Well, I guess there was a lot of unhappiness, a lot of anger, I should say, with the way that the mother and the sister were both portrayed in the film. I guess at the premiere screening of the film, or at one of the premiere screenings, I guess the real life brother got up and screamed at Christian Bale and stormed out. Don't know how dramatized that story has become over the past 6 years. The film came out in 2010, but that's what the reports were saying. So they are depicted in pretty unfavorable light.
They are
very tough talking, chain smoking.
That's right.
Just very foul mouthed. Very self-absorbed characters. So I mean, who would want to have, you know, his mother or his sister depicted on screen that way if he feels that that's not the way they really are? But it did create a lot of friction.
Yeah, I suppose so. But I remember seeing that Mickey Ward actually liked the way that Wahlberg portrayed him, though. You know,
as far as he himself.
As far as he himself, he was very happy with the way the movie came out, and Wahlberg was kind of understated in that, I would say. You know, he was emotional when he had to be, but he sort of like. I thought Christian Bale carried the movie, deserved the Academy Award. Yeah. It was great.
Well, Christian Bale and Amy Adams, they have great chemistry, and they worked together with. The director was David O. Russell, and they all worked together again with American Hustle. Yeah, and they all worked. There was a lot of good chemistry with that.
Yeah,
one
he had great shots of the fight scenes. I mean, he did a fantastic job, I thought. I mean,
David O. Russell is good with stories that are complex, but that really focus on the characters. It's not about the movie is just as much about these people as it is about the fights, and I think that's what really draws. That's what really engages.
I think you're right. I think you're right. You couldn't have more three-dimensional characters than you have in that movie.
Yeah, no,
and you actually end up rooting for all of them.
Yeah, you know, even when they're pitted against each other.
Yeah,
you can't take sides.
You're hoping that family all comes together, that dysfunctional group, and it sort of does at the end. But it's definitely a great movie for everything it has, including the fighter. The fighter could be fighting the family, the opponent in the ring, and his brother. But I mean, it's a great movie.
That's a
good title.
That's a really good point. You think
good
of
title.
Deep thought here. The fighter. Does that refer to the fight itself? Does that refer to the family dynamic?
Thought of that.
All of the above.
I just thought of that. So that brings us. Go ahead. That's the next. What? Now we're getting into the crime.
Now that we're getting more and more into the blue collar depictions of blue collar life and some people turning to crime, you have that really with an old classic that a lot of people will either remember or will say, "Oh, I forgot about that one." Right. It's from 1973, and it's called The Friends of Eddie Coyle, and it stars Robert Mitchum. So that's the next one that we have.
This is Eddie Coyle.
I got 5 Smiths, 2 Lugers, and a 357 mag. You can open a bank with that thing all by yourself.
And these are his friends.
You gonna need any more guns?
I could use anything you can get.
In the world of Eddie Coyle and his friends, the real world of crime, cops cannot operate without information, and criminals cannot survive without favors.
Here's 20. Who's calling up? Remember Eddie Fingers?
You know, I want 10 guns. I want it tomorrow night. I'll be right there with the money, same place where we were before. I'll be there with the money, you be there with those damn guns, because if you ain't, I'll be looking for you, and I'll find you, too.
Hell, the way I hear it, you're maybe mixed up in something that's going on.
What did you do?
You hit the alarm.
Suppose I was to give you those guys. They've been knocking off the banks.
Are you hooked in with the mafia or something?
Tell you the truth, I don't know. There's this heavy-set guy, you know? People are desperate for guns. I had a guy ask me seriously the other day, could I get him a few machine guns?
You tell me about a guy that's gonna get hit, 15 minutes later he gets hit. You tell me about some guys in a job, but you don't tell me till they're coming out the door with the money.
Suppose we was to talk about machine guns.
Look, I got 2 problems selling machine guns to people like you. The first is selling machine guns. That's life in this state.
If I give you this, I can't do no time. These guys have got friends, you know, and I wouldn't live to get out.
We could take him now.
We take him.
It's a grubby, violent, dangerous world. But it's the only world they know. And they're the only friends Eddie Coyle has.
Premise of that movie is that he is a crook with a history, with a record,
right.
and he decides to rat out people, his associates, to the authorities, and so there's this. He decides to.
But after the fact, though.
Yeah. And it's Robert Mitchum, and Peter Boyle is a long way away from young Frankenstein with this one.
That's right.
And putting on the Ritz, and of course everybody loves Raymond. But the book was written by George Higgins, who grew up in Brockton.
Yeah.
And when the movie was made, the movie was shot all around the area: Quincy, Sharon, Dedham. I think there was a scene in
Norwood.
Was it Norwood?
No,
might have been, but it was just a very it's almost like a travelogue of the greater Boston area, including the suburbs. There's a train station.
Newton in the Riverside.
Yep,
right,
Newton.
Right, yeah.
And there's a train station in Sharon, right off of Main Street. That features prominently in the film, and you know, I pass by there every day on the way to work. So it was strange to see that in this film. It's the 1973 version of that train station. You know, still there, still operating, but. Despite what you just saw, it's actually a very dialogue-heavy movie. There's not as much shoot-'em-up scenes as you would think. I think there are only 2 bank robbery scenes in the film.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty
intense.
Violent, but that was also 1970s American cinema for you.
Yeah.
You know, this was the Vietnam era. This was the era when people were really losing trust in authority. The Watergate scandal was going on, the oil embargo, and the gasoline shortages, and the recession, and one of the biggest trends in American cinema in the 1970s was this gritty realism, and you have that with Eddie Coyle. You take a look at anything directed by Martin Scorsese, Mean Streets, Taxi Driver, and these films are grim and downbeat, and the leading character is very cynical and jaded, and that's what you have with Eddie Coyle. In fact, Martin Scorsese when he did Mean Streets the same year as Eddie Coyle.
Oh, we did.
And so that really got the trend going with these movies depicting, gangland activities and things like that.
It was interesting because Robert Mitchum is usually playing a much heavier role, like a much more prominent role, like a much more active role, I would say. Instead of being like a go-between, supplying guns to everybody, he usually is the main guy with the gun, like shooting up people. But, I mean, like friends of Eddie Coyle, with friends like that, you don't need enemies, you know what I mean? Everybody was snitching on everybody in that movie. And, the cops wanted the information from Eddie and Peter Boyle was getting information to give to the cops about these different jobs that were happening or something. Did you notice too that it was like so little money, I'll give you $20 for a tip,
Yeah.
It's like, what'd you do? Like today it'd be like 150 or something.
Yes, it was the recession of the 70s.
Yeah, it was a recession, I know. But it was very gritty realism, and coming up, the next movie that we're going to show you soon would be The Town, and I read that Ben Affleck looked at this movie, to get some ideas of what kind of how a gritty type movie could be filmed, with bank robberies, I think in particular.
Anything with Alex Rocco, is gritty. He has a supporting role in Eddie Coyle. He's one of the bank robbers, and he's the guy who the year earlier in the original Godfather was shot in the eye while he was on the massage table. And so he actually in real life in the 60s was a Boston Teamster, and he was sort of on the fringes. He wasn't a gangster, but he was, there were connections, and so he was indicted for the murder of some gang member, I forget which offhand, and the case was dismissed for lack of evidence. And he went to Los Angeles and lost some weight, changed his name, became an actor, and did The Godfather and did Eddie Coyle. And then, believe it or not, he actually went on in the 80s to play the father of one of the 4 girls in The Facts of Life. I mean, talk about a career switch. You're going from The Godfather and Eddie Coyle to The Facts of Life.
Went from a bad guy to a good guy.
But pretty much. Okay. Although in The Facts of Life, if memory serves me, he plays a father of one of these 4 girls, and he is supposed to be in prison for something. So I don't know if that was a bit of typecasting, but it worked.
Yeah.
And in fact, speaking of Robert Mitchum, allegedly hung out with, or at least associated with Whitey Bulger and the Winter Hill Gang.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
As he was preparing for this role for this film. So if that's method acting.
That is method acting if there ever was one. So. But that brings us to The Town, which is
2010.
2010. Talk about bank robberies. Here you go.
Miss Kesey, I would like to start with your abduction.
4 men made me open the safe. They took me as a hostage.
Were you able to see anything at all through the blindfold?
No.
When someone endures an experience like this, there are often residual effects. You okay?
Just having a bad week.
I like to have a good cry at the nail salon. Why should we buy you a drink?
There are over 300 bank robberies in Boston every year. Most of these professionals live in a 1 square mile neighborhood called Charlestown.
So your parents still live here?
My mother moved away, my father. You don't get out much. I'm thinking about making a change.
Making a change. Either you got me or you don't.
You used to hang around with Doug McCray a little bit, huh?
How do you know Dougie?
I work for the FBI.
I'm putting this whole town in my rear view.
You grew up right here. Same rules that I did.
I hear you got a sweet new girlfriend.
Secret's this one.
If I think anything might happen to her, I'm gonna kill both of you.
Are you in love with me?
Yes.
She's the one person that can give us the feds. She didn't see anything. Get that in your head.
This is the not screwing around crew. So find me something that looks like a print, because this not screwing around thing is about to go both ways.
I want to go with you.
I'm leaving with somebody else. we get jammed up, we're holding court on the street.
I just want you to know that you are going to die in federal prison.
I'll see you again, this side or the other.
Well, that's a powerful film from the get-go. The first opening scene, they're already going into that, the robbery's been planned, they're going into the bank, and it's like nonstop action after that, pretty much. I mean, there is that love story with the hostage that he takes from the bank, and you know, he does want to change things around, but that robbery at the, you know, there was a robbery at Fenway Park, folks, and that's another great reason, if nothing else, you'd want to watch that movie just to see how it gets done. But also, the interesting thing was when he was filming that, there was actually a wedding going on, and they actually heard the gunfire that was going on in Fenway Park at the time when he was filming it, and they thought they were going to be under attack, the wedding people. So he found out about that later, and he said, geez, I'm really sorry, but if nothing else, it's probably a good story. You know?
Anything. So, like I say, that's something that not everybody can claim happened at their wedding.
No, I know.
So, yeah, no, that was 2010's The Town, and that was like you said, right from the first frame, you see everything going into place, even before the opening credits begin rolling.
Right.
And there is an interesting, actually there are a couple of interesting parallels between The Town and Eddie Coyle, and probably the most glaring one is the idea that these bank robbers take this hostage, they blindfold the hostage, bring this hostage into the car with them, and they drive off. They tell the hostage, we're not going to hurt you, just do what we say. And then they eventually let the hostage out, and they say, remain blindfolded, just walk in this direction, count to 100, I think it is, and then...
Until your feet hit the water.
Until your feet get wet, hit the water, and then take the blindfold off, and we'll be long gone. Yeah. And Eddie Coyle does that in a pretty disturbing scene where the bank manager is, he's told that there are some bank robbers, associates who are at his house, and they're holding his 2 kids and his wife at the kitchen table, saying, you know, if you don't want them getting hurt, do as we say. That was an Eddie Coyle, and here in The Town, she's the bank manager, and she is, once she feels the water, she's walking towards. She said she felt like she thought she'd be walking off a cliff.
I know.
And just that whole idea of not knowing what direction you're heading into. Are you heading into water? Are you heading off a cliff? Are you heading off a bridge? Are you heading into traffic? I mean, that was that feeling of that vulnerability. In both films, they used that fear to, you know, to the advantage of the film in terms of building the suspense.
Yeah,
it's really disturbing. It gets under your skin, kind of.
It is, and it's interesting that he begins to follow her to make sure that she's not doing anything or contacting the FBI or the police, and then slowly he starts to fall for her, you know. Like, and it becomes more than, you know, she becomes like a love interest to him, but she's hiding who he is, and when she, you know, eventually she finds out details, but it actually gets twisted around when the FBI believes that she's part of it, which is really a very clever way that they turn the whole screenplay, you know. They just skew it into a different direction. But I think it was very well done. I mean, and the other interesting thing about it too is that when they were trying to assemble the crew, he ended up taking somebody who had been an extra in one of his other movies, which was to be part of the gang, because they couldn't find another person, I guess, or he wasn't satisfied with who he had auditioned, and he took this guy who had been in Gone Baby Gone. I think his name is Slane. I don't know his first, it may be the name in the movie. And he actually ended up was a big part in this role, in this movie. So he had a bit part in Gone Baby Gone, and they took him and they liked the way he performed, so he was in this one. And they also had former ex-bank robbers that were part of the extras, They
served as like technical advisors to the screenplay.
And they actually had one that they cast as a cop in the movie. So
it's casting against type?
That's totally casting against type. So
it was based on a book called Prince of Thieves, which of course I think most people think of Robin Hood when they hear a title like that, but it was called Prince of Thieves by Chuck Hogan. And when they
he's from Stoughton too, by the way.
He's from Stoughton.
Yeah.
And when they initially finished the film, all the raw footage that they put together, the film was about 4 hours long. And Ben Affleck knew that there was no way anybody would sit through a 4 hour long movie. So they whittled it down, eventually got to a 2 hour and 10 minute long film.
Right.
And I would say that a lot of the tension in that film can be attributed to the performance of Jeremy Renner, who at the time was probably most famous for The Hurt Locker. And he's also in American Hustle with Amy Adams and Christian Bale. But Jeremy Renner plays the Ben Affleck's friends. Who
actually becomes like a half-brother because I think...
his family took him in.
His family took him in, right.
His family took the Ben Affleck character in because Ben Affleck's father went to prison, his mother had died.
That's right.
And so now he has to, now Ben Affleck is faced with the dilemma of, do I protect this woman I have fallen in love with, or do I keep this loyalty I have to this guy I've known all my life who I grew up with?
Yeah,
so,
and he's a bad dude.
Ethical dilemmas there.
Yeah. Jeremy Renner plays a really bad dude. He reminded me of, what do you call it, the Goodfellas guy.
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci. He just like that. I mean, like he's just very goes off half-cocked, very quick on the trigger, and he had a great Boston accent too, I thought. He was really excellent in that movie.
And there were a lot of people who took issue, and maybe rightfully so, with the film. The film opens up with a little title card that says
That's right.
Charlestown, and they said it in the trailer, Charlestown
That's right.
Has the highest number of bank robberies, and there were people who took issue with that statistic because according to the Boston police in an article from the Christian Science Monitor, I think it was, according to that article, the police said that they don't keep statistics of nationwide bank robberies.
Right.
And when they took a look at the stats for Charlestown, it only accounted for 2% of robberies, not just bank robberies, but any robbery. So when the statistic was that low, they challenged the authenticity of the claim the film was making. And if you take a look at the end credits, the end credits say that this film does not reflect the, quote, vast majority,
of
end quote.
That's right, of the good and true people.
Of the good and true people of Charlestown, which were interesting words to use in that context, but at least it's one of those, cover yourself kind of moments. Here we say that the vast majority of Charlestown residents, this is not their day-to-day life, not their reality.
No.
So.
But that's what they did. They immersed themselves in, like I remember when I was reading about him, he said that they had the cast actually spend like a month or so in Charlestown, get to know, actually try to meet with ex-bank robbers or people that had done those kinds of things. And, to get the kind of feel for it, to see what they did and how they did it, I guess. I don't know. But it seemed like, everything was organized to a T. The way they went away, the way they went around, the way they did these bank robberies, organized it, pulled them off, and got away with it.
And got away
until
with
they
it.
Until they got caught at the end.
So,
but I don't want to give that. Can't give that away.
Yeah. but there were two different endings filmed. But we'll just leave it at that.
That's true. The other thing interesting about that, I read that, is that I guess Ben Affleck wasn't going to be their director originally. I guess it was going to be Adrian Lin, but I think he either bowed out of it or got sick or something. So they asked Ben Affleck to direct it, and it was his second, they call sophomore directing experience. I guess it was Gone Baby Gone.
Gone Baby Gone was his first directing job.
We'll be seeing that soon.
And his first three of his first directing gigs, he directed Oscar-nominated performances. Amy Ryan was nominated for Gone Baby Gone. She was a pistol in that one.
Yes.
Jeremy Renner was nominated for The Town.
That's right.
And Alan Arkin was nominated for Argo in 2012.
Yeah. He's gotten better. Argo was fantastic. I thought The Town was great. I've seen it the second time now, and it's just, it has so much. It has a lot to it. It's really it's like Good Will Hunting, but it has Fenway Park in it.
It's not Good Will Hunting, no.
It's not Good Will Hunting.
Two different kinds of films,
no, but it's as authentic a Boston movie as you could find, and I think that's probably what he was looking for as well.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So that brings us to talking about some humorous movies.
Yes, let's lighten the mood a little bit here.
Yes,
We've been taking a look at a lot of bank robberies.
Right.
We've been taking a look at a lot of broken family dynamics. But let's have our last couple of films here be fun ones. Stuff that'll make people say, okay, good, now you didn't bring me down this whole past hour. So I want to leave everybody with a smile on their face. So the next film that we'll be taking a look at is Fever Pitch, which was done in 2005 with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore.
So you don't have a cell phone, a BlackBerry, a pager, nothing?
No.
Well, what if some sudden crisis occurs, like your father has a heart attack or something?
My father died 2 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just found out this morning, so it's been a rough 24 hours. You know, maybe I should get a cell phone. That's a good idea.
Lindsay Meeks has never met a guy quite like Ben.
All right, Lindsay, so what's the matter with this one? I'm about to turn 2010, and instead of becoming more open and available, I'm becoming less open.
All the guys you date are competitive and successful. It's like you're dating yourself. Ding, ding, ding. This guy has got such a good vibe. I really think you've got something here. Me too. Something's not quite right. Robin, there is a reason this Ben guy is still single.
I'm really gonna take a chance now. Lindsay, will you go to opening day with me?
Yes.
She knows he's a fan.
Where do the Sox rank in your life?
I say Red Sox and breathing.
Can you believe this pinhead?
She knows he's devoted.
This Red Sox thing, it's an obsession.
I know, it's just that I hate when it becomes... Oopsie.
But she's about to discover.
They're sending me to Paris to close the deal. And I am taking...
What? Just how committed he really is.
We're 2 games out of first with 3 weeks left, you know, but this is when they need me.
When they need you.
From 20th Century Fox.
Dump him. What? Give him the boot. At what point do you say to yourself, I'm counting on you to be the one, and I have no fallback plan?
It's not another woman. It's an entire team.
She wants me to give this up?
You love the Sox. But have they ever loved you back?
Who are you, Dr. Phil? Get at it. Go hit. Go swing the bat.
Drew Barrymore, Jimmy Fallon.
23 years. You still care about anything you cared about 23 years ago?
It's only a game.
What did you just say?
Fever Pitch.
Want a family, Frank? One, please.
From the first opening chords of the opening credits, Dirty Water.
Yes.
If this movie doesn't put you in the mood to be sitting right there in Fenway,
That's right.
with the hot dog in one hand, drink in the other hand, just watching the game, feeling the sunlight, all the excitement in the air, this movie will put you in that mood. And it's fun.
It is fun.
It's goofy, and it's Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore, who I will go on record as saying have better chemistry than, she has better chemistry with him, I think anyway, than she does with Adam Sandler.
I was going to say the same
and
thing.
she did 3 movies with Adam Sandler and just one with Jimmy Fallon, and
Yeah.
something seems backwards with that.
No, I mean, could anything be more maybe more Fenway Park or more Red Sox? I mean, he gets up in the morning. I love that scene when he puts a towel over his shoulder and he crosses himself, and then he touches Tony Canigliaro's, picture on the in the photo. It's just hilarious. I mean,
probably one of the best lines in the movie is when she refers to Jimmy Fallon's Red Sox dish towels, Red Sox glasses, and Yankees toilet paper. And if that doesn't say it all, I don't know what does. And the ironic thing is that Jimmy Fallon grew up in New York, and he's a diehard Yankees fan.
I know, but boy, did he carry that. But he was on Saturday Night Live, and he used to do the skits on Saturday Night Live with Rachel Dratch, where he played like a crazy Red Sox.
The two of them played white trash Boston.
Right, and like
with exaggerated accents, talking about Revere.
Exactly, and they like kiss each other. And So
that was
I love you, and I go, But
that was a good running gag, yeah.
Yeah, but that was great. I mean, like some of the scenes, the Farrelly brothers directed this, and that they are hilarious. I mean, they did Something About Mary. They did Kingpin.
Yeah.
Me, Myself, and Irene with Jim Carrey. So you knew this would be hilarious, but one of the funnier scenes I thought was when he's on his knees and he opens it up and she offers her the ticket to Fenway opening day. I mean.
So this is one of those trailers where you have the story.
Yeah,
now it's just a matter of watching it all play out. And they make it work. I mean, it may be predictable, but they have this on-screen charisma that makes it work. It's cute. It's much less grating than some of the other romantic comedies that are out there. This one was actually pretty good. And there's I won't say in what context, but there's a big climactic scene that takes place in Fenway, and she's running across the baseball field in the middle of the game. That was filmed in September of 2004 at Fenway.
That's right.
Right after one of the games of that legendary curse-breaking World Series.
That's right.
And that was when the Red Sox had just finished playing Tampa Bay. They won. Boston won. And the players and about half the crowd stuck around the field after the game ended, and they all were extras in the film.
Right, and the other thing too about that is the Farrelly brothers were so superstitious, like everyone, like all of us, any of us that have lived through the bad seasons of the Red Sox, the heartbreaking losses that the Red Sox have suffered in '75 and '86, 2003, Aaron Boone hit that home run, and to win the pennant, and they didn't want to get ahead of themselves. They saw the Red Sox had won 19 of their last 21 games to make it into the playoffs as a wild card, but they didn't want to jinx it because they didn't want to write that they might win the game, they might win the pennant and then go on and play in the World Series. So they were just. Originally the ending was going to be that, she comes on the field, she saves him from ripping up his season's tickets because, if he's going to lose her versus the Red Sox, he finally realizes, it should be her, right? So anyway, they had to change that because when the Red Sox actually won the World Series, or the last game of the turns out to be the last game, they were in Toronto and they were trying to figure out what they should do, and they got on a plane and made it just in time and had permission from Major League Baseball to use a camera to film the Red Sox actually winning the World Series and them having the opportunity to kiss each other and celebrate. And it was fascinating to see how the Farrelly brothers themselves were so superstitious about writing a good ending like that, being before it happened. So it actually was a reality meeting fiction at the same time in a movie, which was incredible. When when you hear that, that was wonderful. I mean, I'm glad that happened.
So, magic at Fenway.
Yeah.
Which brings us to our final film, which does have a scene that takes place at Fenway Park, set around Boston, and this is another comedy, and you probably recognize it. It's from 2012, and it's called Ted.
It has been said that magic vanished from our world a long time ago. But if there's one thing you can be sure of,
I wish you could really talk to me.
it's that nothing is more powerful than a young boy's wish.
You're my best friend, John. I love you.
But eventually, everyone grows up.
I'm taking Lauren to dinner. You don't think she's gonna be expecting something big, do you?
It's been 4 years, Johnny. You and me have been together for 27 years. Where's my ring? Huh? Where's my ring? Put it on my fuzzy finger. Where's my ring? Come on.
Knock it off.
All right, I'm just saying.
Man.
That's my bad. I was sending a tweet.
John.
Hi, Thomas. How are you?
Maybe please ask Ted to move out so we can move on with our lives.
I'm not that psyched to just, kick him out.
Oh.
Laurie, hey, you're home early.
Who are these girls?
Oh, my God, where are my manners? Laurie, this is Angelique, Heavenly, Shireen, and Sauvignon Blanc. I swear to God, her name is Sauvignon Blanc. Show your Chevron card.
Ted, you gotta move out. I'll help you get on your feet out there, I promise.
Bring it in, you bastard. Come on.
I love you.
Sorry, that's the thing.
The old...
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I met a girl.
Nice.
She's a cashier. You know what I like to do to her? Something I call a dirty fuzzy. Down here, not looking up your towel, swear to God, not looking at your funny business.
Sometimes I think back to that Christmas morning when I was 8 years old. I wish I'd just gotten a Teddy Ruxpin.
I love you.
Why are you crying? Your joke gets squished by the TV. I look stupid.
No, you don't. You look dapper.
John, I look like something you give to your kid when you tell him grandma died.
Yeah, that movie is just wrong on so many levels, which is why I love it.
Yeah, really.
Still have to see the sequel though. So.
Yeah, yeah, the sequel is really good, but I mean, what an original idea. Only Seth MacFarlane probably could come up with that, and the voices. I mean, he plays Teddy. He does all the voices, and Mila Kunis also did what's her name, Meg on the show. I realized.
The Family Guy.
Yeah, so he picked people from Family Guy to be on there, but I mean, it's just hilarious. What a concept to have a teddy bear come to life and be as raunchy and as crazy as and as dirty as possible. A dirty teddy bear, you have to say.
But he's got heart.
He does have heart.
I mean, that saves it all.
Okay,
Saves it all.
That's true. This is something you got to see.
So we're actually running short on time, so this is really a small taste of what we will be continuing to talk about.
That's right. We're going to be showing you, we're going to have a great thing about the crime stories and more great movies. And to put you in the mood, we're coming up right now with a teaser, so you can enjoy this one.
In a town where loyalty is king, where the line between right and wrong is blurred, and justice is anything but blind, one thing reigns supreme.
You all know me. I'm not just a cop. I'm a father, I'm a son, and above all, I'm from Boston.
Boston Accent. Critics are calling the film Boston Accent gritty, emotional, and the movie with the most Boston accents this year. The Politician, with the upscale Kennedy-type Boston accent.
I am the mayor of Boston, and I was elected to clean up this town, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna get my hands dirty.
The townie who says the word bro in every sentence.
Bro, don't tell me to chill out, because I'm cranked up, bro. And I know where you live, bro. And bro, I know where you work, bro. And bro, I know what you drive, bro. A Nissan Maxima, bro.
The hard-nosed detective played by a British actor who's trying his best but doesn't quite have it.
I know he thinks he's wicked smart, but here's the thing, I'm wicked smarter.
And one actor who decided at the last minute not to do a Boston accent at all.
I'm gonna go park the car in Harvard Yard.
Vanity Fair calls Boston Accent a tour de force of dropped R's and a brilliant showcase of the words wicked and pisser. The New York Times says, as with all movies set in Boston, I spent less time paying attention to the plot and more time thinking, that accent is good, or yikes, what's that guy doing? I kept wondering if the director ever stepped in and asked, where do you think your character is from? Featuring the word 40, but said in the Boston way.
40, bro. 40. Sorry, 40.
And loaded with geographical references to cities and towns in Massachusetts and the greater Boston area.
I can meet you in an hour in Worcester. How about Medford? How about Dorchester? How about Gloucester? How about Taunton? My cousin Eric's from Taunton. Wicked. So do you want to meet there? Nah, how about Weymouth? How about Revere? What about Somerville? How about Marblehead? How about Arlington? What about Brockton? How about Swampscott? What do we meet in Braintree?
That conversation goes on for 10 minutes. And the only thing stronger than these accents is the love between a man and a woman, Boston style.
What do you want from me, Donna?
I want you to stop treating me like garbage.
Well, when are you gonna stop putting Jimmy's on my ice cream?
Oh, I'll put Jimmy's on your ice cream when you stop acting like a prick.
Donna!
See the movie that is being hailed as chock full of aerial shots of Fenway Park. And Boston Accent would not be complete without people talking about loyalty and Southie and all that other Boston stuff.
I mean, in, Southie, loyalty's more important than a gun, Don't take my word for it, just watch The Departed. town. You know, Black Mass, Mystic River, Gone Baby Gone, Boondock Saints. You know, Good Will Hunting actually has a lot of those themes too. You know, there's not the same amount of violence, but I think it still holds up, you know.
The Boston Globe asks, why do they keep doing this? And the Los Angeles Times says, nearly every scene has people talking about knowing one another's relatives and inquiring about their current whereabouts. Featuring 75 new songs from the Dropkick Murphys that all sound like this. And shots of real Bostonians who stand in the background to give the movie authenticity. Oh, and I almost forgot, it also has people getting shot in the head.
What are you gonna do about it, bro? Hey, pal.
Boston Accent. Probably a Ben Affleck film.
Like the whole adage, it's funny because it's true. Everything we have just spent the last hour talking about has been mercilessly lampooned in that Seth Meyers clip, and
that's true.
It's all true. Aerial shots of Fenway.
Yep.
Real life Boston people in the background.
Yep.
Everyone talking about each other's relatives. It's all there.
And bros.
And Ben Affleck directed, I think, half the movies that we just talked about.
Yeah, Ben Affleck, Mark Wahlberg, and Matt Damon are probably in most Boston movies. But we'll see some others.
So next show that we have coming up, we'll be taking a look specifically at Boston movies set in the crime land.
That's
so
right.
that will include Mystic River and
Black
Gone Baby
Mass.
Gone, Black Mass, and a few others. That's
Yep.
just
There's
part of it.
Mystic
And
River.
Mystic River.
So yeah,
and River, not River.
Oh, Mystic River.
And so
it's
yeah,
Wicked. You want to tune in for that one.
Wicked.
So
that's what we'll be taking a look at next time.
right.
So in the meantime, take a look at Fever Pitch and Ted for some good laughs, and
That's
then
right.
next time tune in for some good thrills and chills and aerial shots of Fenway Park.
Yeah, so for Frank Mandosa and Mike Wigdor, we'll see you next time on Boston Movies.
Thanks for tuning in.